That's rather comforting to know that you've been in it from the beginning. You've seen it grow, and that's still your opinion that we're on the up and up. This isn't a bubble. This isn't gonna tumble over at any point. There's no one game that's gonna send us into the red.
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of the problems before, while there were structural problems, and I mean, there's a lot of problems other than leagues didn't have money. And they didn't pay their players, and teams weren't established. The leagues themselves weren't really established that much either, and we were still growing a lot. I think in the past few years we've had advancements in the number of different areas that we've really needed to make this all work. One being the games themselves are pretty much the most important factor. We have StarCraft 2 that's taken about 10 years to come out, and that is now pretty much the most popular worldwide game to make everything come together. And we didn't have that before. StarCraft 1 had been in its kind of limbo mode while esports really grew. StarCraft 1 was in limbo mode. Quake 3 was still 4 or 5 years old. 1.6 was still 3, 4, 5 years old. So now we have a new Counter-Strike coming out. We have new Dota that's finally here. We have new Street Fighter. We have new Marvel vs. Capcom. We have new Call of Duties. We have new Gears of War that's coming out, and it was just premiered here at MLG. We pretty much have a new game in every major franchise on the planet except for Quake. And if that were to come, we'd pretty much be set for forever in terms of the games. And people can't overestimate how important the games themselves are. If the games aren't good, people aren't going to play them no matter how much money is on the line or what the community really does. So having the games be good and the support from the developer side on the competitive features and esports in general, hosting tournaments, having the spectator clients and all that type of stuff really makes things go. The second thing is live streaming and the ability to actually make revenue and ROI off of this industry to begin with. If you didn't have that, you really can't do anything either because you can't sell ads, you can't make money. You had HLTV and GTV for Quake for years and years, and you had 50, 60,000 people watching those. So you had as many people watching those streams as you do now for StarCraft 2, but you couldn't run ads for them. And you couldn't run ads, you couldn't do broadcasts, you couldn't do anything. So you couldn't have any return on investment for those projects to begin with. Now you have multiple companies in live streaming, Ustream, Justin TV, Livestream.com, Own3D, among others that are specifically built around live streaming, not only gaming, but as an entire industry within itself, millions of dollars. So now gaming has been able to embrace that industry. So we don't have to do Winamp, Windows Media Player broadcasts with laggy streams and buffering and no VODs or non-existent VODs or ones that come out in 2 months. Now we have instant VODs and 1080p HD live streaming and all the other things we need to make money. So that coupled with the advancement of the leagues, the advancement of the teams, the players, the community itself, and the growth, I really don't see it going down. I don't think we can have the bubble problems that we had a few years ago just because there's no reason for any of that to happen again, unless there was really a catastrophe to something that would happen to one major part of the industry.
Well, you were saying that one of the most important things contributing to the growth of esports right now is the fact that we have truly quality games that we can rely on now to produce consistent, good media. But you also said that it's important to have players, and we've had this argument before. What is more important currently, the players or the casters? Because the casters seem to be the most famous ones now. But overall, we've also seen this evolution of as the games have gotten better, the player has evolved. He started producing media on live streaming. He started tweeting. He started interacting with fans. Casters have done very much the same thing, promoting themselves, going across several leagues, becoming probably the most familiar face to people in the industry who follow the game. What do you think is the most important right now? I want to revisit that conversation we've had for esports to focus on. If we had to choose one thing, do we really need our players to start putting themselves out there more? Should we put more energy and more pay behind the casters who come in and lend, unique personalities and bring their own hordes of fans? Or are we really still worried about perfecting these games that we have that are entertaining now but still have flaws?
Oh, I love this argument, and you're just always wrong on it. So, I mean, I think I should...
I have never felt incorrect anytime we've discussed this.
Okay, I will admit the casters are probably more important for the spectators and in general the growth of the more newbie audience in terms of this whole thing, because they're needed to explain, describe, and entertain the viewers at home. And if they can't be entertained and intrigued and given knowledge of what this all is, they really can't get into it. It's hard to watch a game without commentary now because one, you're just so used to it, and you really kind of expect it, because if you watch sports, it's pretty much hard to watch a game on mute. You need that level of involvement to really get into the game. Also, for new players, they're needed to introduce people into what's going on and to get more info. But I will say that the best casters in the world, and that have proven to be, are all ex-players. And they would not be where they are now if they were not players beforehand. So I still instinctively think that the best professional broadcasters in the world were ex-players most of the time. You have a few proven radio personalities that have gone on to be worldwide phenomenons, kind of like Marv Albert and John Madden, but Madden was a player too. So I really think you need those coaches and players to move into that caster spot. And if it's not a player or a coach who's had that 10-year experience before, I don't think that they're going to evolve into the major caster that they are now. DJ Wheaton, Day 9, Tastes Sartosis, all the best examples that I can give were all pro players in StarCraft 1 and in Quake 3 before they moved on to casting. If they weren't pro players before, I don't think they would nearly be as big as they are now. And in addition to that, you don't have any games if you don't have the players. You need the players to have the matchups themselves. Otherwise, the casters can't cast anything. You could have Day 9 and DJ Wheat and Artosis cast, you know, Joe Schmo versus Destiny, and no one's going to watch it because they're not any good, and it really doesn't matter. I would rather watch two Koreans play with no casters than have two newbies play with the best casters, because you need
this
and skill to showcase on hand for the casters to commentate. Otherwise, they're just casting garbage.
This is the conversation we had back in March, I guess, and that was the argument that I brought up, that, you know, what would you rather watch? Nick and Dan cast Collegiate Star League, or all the Koreans play and be casted by two very new casters? By me. Yeah, well, that's not fair. I have boobies. And in March, I said, you know, everyone would go watch Nick and Dan. It didn't matter what they were doing, who they were casting. People were attached to Nick and Dan. But I've recognized in the community since that point, really over the course of these MLGs, people have become a lot more familiar and comfortable with the players themselves. And that's who you start to see people attaching to, especially now the whole transfer of Huck from Liquid to EG. You saw a lot of people cleaving to the player, some people cleaving to the team, and some people still saying, you know what, I love the sport, I love the industry, I don't care as long as Day 9's talking over it. So it's a lot more diversified now, but I still wouldn't say that the player is the single most essential thing. I really think it's the trifecta at this point.
I would say the players are always the most iconic part of sports history, from Michael Jordan to Joe Namath to Babe Ruth to Wayne Gretzky. They're more important than the league, and they're more important than the casters and the commentators. And really, the biggest broadcasters are ex-players. If you don't have the players putting in the dedication to play their game and their sport, you're never going to have the highest quality entertainment to begin with. And I would say that Boxer and, example, Daigo, Walshy, they are their games and their sports, not, you know, Puckett or Day or, you know, the Korean commentators. If you don't have the players, you don't have the games. You don't have the games, there's no games to casters to commentate in the first place. So I will always defend the players as the most important part of pretty much all of competitive gaming.